The city of Viralaya was alive with colors and sounds. Huge banners hung from tall towers, glowing softly in the evening light. Streets were filled with humans and aliens of every shape and size. Some had smooth, shining skin, others had wings or extra arms. Music floated through the air, a mix of instruments from many worlds. Laughter, chatter, and the soft hum of floating vehicles filled every corner. The annual Festival of Worlds had begun, and everyone seemed excited. Toma walked through the crowded streets with a small bag slung over his shoulder. He was a young engineer, curious about new technology and inventions. His brown eyes moved from display to display, studying the glowing holograms and floating machines. He stopped near a booth that displayed a miniature model of a new spaceship design. The ship's engines rotated slowly, showing the mechanics inside. Toma reached out, touching the edge of the display. He could feel the tiny vibrations as if the model were alive. He did not notice her among the crowd. She walked quietly, a hood over her head hiding most of her face. Her steps were calm, almost floating over the cobblestones. She watched him from a distance, her eyes curious but careful. Toma, busy with the spaceship model, had no idea someone was following him. The festival was full of surprises. A group of alien performers floated on levitation discs, spinning and dancing in midair. Children ran past, laughing as they chased small hovering robots. Market stalls sold exotic foods, some that glowed, others that moved slightly on their own. The smells were strange but inviting, and Toma found himself tempted by a sweet, shimmering pastry. He bought one, enjoying the crunch and the warm, glowing filling. Even in the crowd, the hooded figure moved gracefully. She slipped past families and vendors, staying a few steps behind Toma. Her interest was quiet but focused. She noticed the way he studied the models, how he paused when a machine didn't work perfectly, how he smiled at small, clever designs. There was something about his careful attention, something that made her want to see more. Toma turned a corner and stopped at a new display. This one was a floating map of the galaxy, showing planets, moons, and trade routes. He leaned closer, fascinated by the details. Lines of light connected the planets, showing travel paths. Tiny ships moved along the lines, like ants carrying glowing cargo. He reached out to touch one of the ships, and it hovered over his hand for a moment before returning to the map. Toma smiled. He loved seeing new ideas, new ways of thinking about space and travel. From a short distance, the hooded figure watched him smile. For a moment, she forgot to stay hidden. A strand of hair escaped from under her hood, catching the soft light. Toma did not notice her. He was busy with the map, his mind full of questions and ideas. Suddenly, a loud cheer came from the center of the plaza. A demonstration was starting on a floating stage. Toma turned, curiosity pulling him toward the crowd. Vendors pushed forward, and spectators of all species gathered around. The hooded figure followed, moving carefully through the sea of people. Her eyes were fixed on him, but she also watched the stage. The stage was a marvel of technology. A team of alien engineers was showing a new type of energy crystal. The crystal floated in a glass sphere, spinning slowly. Light flowed through it, changing color as it reacted to the crowd's excitement. The engineers explained the crystal's power, how it could store enormous amounts of energy safely. Toma listened intently, fascinated by every word. He scribbled notes on a small device he carried, thinking of ways he could use the crystal in his own inventions. A small child ran past and bumped into Toma, nearly knocking him over. He steadied himself and looked around. For a second, he thought he saw a shadow moving quickly behind the crowd. He frowned but shook his head. The festival was full of shadows and movement. It was easy to imagine things. He returned to the stage, focusing on the crystal again. The hooded figure remained in the crowd, watching him. She noticed his interest, his curiosity, and the way he moved with careful attention. She wondered what it would be like to speak to him, to see if his mind was as sharp as she hoped. But she stayed quiet. The crowd was too large, and she did not want to draw attention. Toma continued exploring, unaware of the eyes that followed him. He moved to a smaller booth that displayed tiny robots, each performing a simple task. One robot painted a small canvas, another balanced on a thin wire, and a third sorted tiny colored spheres. Toma knelt down, fascinated by the precision and creativity. The hooded figure paused behind him, smiling faintly. She admired not only his skill but his genuine excitement for new ideas. As the sun began to set, the festival lights grew brighter. Neon colors reflected off metal towers, glowing softly in the evening sky. Music and chatter continued, but Toma felt a strange sense that something unusual was near. He glanced around again, catching a brief flash of glowing eyes under a hood. But before he could think further, the figure slipped back into the crowd, hidden once more. Toma shook his head, returning to his exploration. The festival was full of wonders, and he had much more to see. But somewhere in the crowd, a pair of eyes followed him quietly, waiting for the right moment to step closer. The Festival of Worlds continued with energy that seemed to pulse through the streets of Viralaya. Bright lights shimmered over the plaza, reflecting off alien armor and the polished surfaces of hovering vehicles. Toma moved carefully, weaving through groups of spectators, his eyes constantly scanning for anything that caught his attention. He had just left the robot booth, his mind full of ideas and sketches he wanted to draw later. As he walked, he noticed something strange. Among the crowd, there was a movement that did not match the rhythm of the festival. A hooded figure passed behind him, slipping between humans and aliens with a strange elegance. Toma blinked, unsure if he had seen it. He shook his head and continued, thinking the crowd simply played tricks on his eyes. The hooded figure paused at a distance, watching him carefully. She stayed hidden, blending perfectly with the sea of people. Her eyes followed every step he took, noticing the way he paused to look at the small details of a display, the way he tilted his head when he was thinking. She admired his curiosity, the way he seemed to notice things others ignored. Toma reached a new section of the festival, where holographic gardens floated above the ground. Trees with shimmering leaves hovered in midair, flowers glowed softly, and small streams of water moved without touching the ground. Children laughed as they reached out to touch the plants, and some of the alien visitors took photos using devices that captured light in unusual ways. Toma knelt to examine a glowing flower, noting how the petals changed color when he moved his hand closer. A soft hum of energy drew his attention to a nearby booth. It displayed a small device that created miniature weather patterns inside a glass dome. Tiny clouds formed, and gentle rain fell without touching the sides. Toma smiled, imagining ways this could be used in space habitats. He did not notice the hooded figure approaching slowly, her steps careful and measured. Suddenly, a bright flash from the booth startled the crowd. A small robot had accidentally triggered a display, and sparks flew into the air. Toma instinctively moved forward, helping a young alien child step back safely. The crowd laughed nervously at the small accident. The hooded figure moved closer, blending in with the startled observers. She did not touch him, but her eyes remained on his every action. Toma looked up from the display and felt a strange sensation, as if someone was observing him more closely than usual. He scanned the crowd but saw nothing unusual. He shrugged, thinking it was the excitement of the festival making him uneasy. He returned to the display, adjusting a lever on the device to control the cloud patterns. The tiny rain changed to mist, and he smiled at the effect. From behind, the hooded figure tilted her head. She noticed how careful he was, how patient and precise he handled even small mistakes. For a moment, she wondered what it would be like to speak to him, to see if he would notice her if she stepped closer. But the crowd was still thick, and she stayed hidden. Toma moved onto a section filled with holographic maps and star charts. He leaned over a display showing the positions of planets in distant systems. Small ships moved along the charts, showing possible travel paths. He tapped on one route, and the ship on the map changed color, indicating a new energy flow. He wrote notes quickly on his device, thinking about how humans might use this in interplanetary travel. The hooded figure followed, careful to stay a few steps behind. She noticed how focused he was, and how small details fascinated him. She admired the way he treated every display with respect, taking time to understand before moving on. Something about him felt different from others she had observed. Suddenly, a loud cheer erupted from the center of the plaza. A new demonstration was starting on a floating stage. Toma turned, curiosity pulling him toward the crowd. The hooded figure followed more quickly, slipping through groups of people with ease. The plaza filled with excitement as the performers prepared a new type of levitating drone. Toma pushed forward, trying to get a closer look at the small machines that floated and spun above the stage. He noticed movement behind him in the corner of his vision. For a brief moment, he thought he saw the hooded figure again. The hood slipped slightly, revealing a faint glint of hair and the soft glow of unusual eyes. Before he could focus, the crowd shifted, and she disappeared. Toma shook his head, smiling nervously. He must be imagining things. The demonstration began, and Toma's attention returned to the drones. They flew in patterns, creating light shows and solving simple puzzles. Toma clapped with the crowd, impressed by the technology. But even as he enjoyed the show, he felt the sense of being observed never fully leave him. After the demonstration, Toma wandered into a quieter alley lined with small shops. The hooded figure stayed at a distance, following without being seen. She wanted to speak, but she was not sure how. For now, she would wait and learn more about him. Toma, unaware of her presence, continued his exploration, curious about the wonders of the festival and the secrets it held. Somewhere in the crowd, her eyes followed him patiently, a silent observer who had noticed him in a way no one else had. Toma moved through the festival plaza, his eyes wide with excitement. Everywhere he looked, there were new inventions and strange, beautiful creatures. Floating lights hovered above the streets, illuminating the faces of humans and aliens alike. Music played from small bands on elevated platforms, blending instruments from many worlds. Toma could barely keep up with all the sights, but he loved every moment. He stopped near a booth where a team of engineers displayed a small energy orb. The orb spun slowly inside a transparent case, glowing in shifting colors. Toma leaned closer, curious about how it worked. He lifted his hand carefully to touch a control panel. The orb's light pulsed as if it responded to his presence. He frowned in concentration, thinking about the mechanics and energy flows. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted from the center of the plaza. A group of performers had set up a levitating stage for a demonstration, but something went wrong. One of the small drones lost balance and started spinning uncontrollably. Sparks flew into the air, and the crowd gasped. Toma instinctively stepped forward, moving closer to see if anyone needed help. The hooded figure had been following him quietly, keeping a safe distance. Now, seeing the chaos, she moved faster. Her steps were light and controlled, weaving through the panicked crowd. She reached the edge of the commotion just as Toma extended his hands to steady a small alien child who had tripped near the spinning drone. The child's parents rushed forward, thanking him quietly, but Toma barely noticed. His attention was on the scene, and on the crowd's safety. The hooded figure slipped through the crowd and accidentally bumped into Toma. Their hands touched briefly. Toma turned quickly, startled. The contact was light but firm. He looked at her hooded face and saw only a shadow under the fabric. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said in a soft voice. Her accent was unusual, smooth, and melodic. Toma shook his head, smiling nervously. No problem. The crowd is a bit wild, he said. He glanced at the drones spinning above the stage. Are you all right? She nodded. Yes, thank you. Her voice had a calm confidence. For a moment, Toma caught the faintest glow in her eyes, something he had never seen before. It was unusual and beautiful, almost as if it reflected the festival lights. He blinked, unsure if he had imagined it. The spinning drone began to slow, finally stabilizing in the air. Engineers rushed forward to control it. The crowd clapped and cheered, relieved that nothing was damaged. Toma turned to thank the hooded figure for helping him notice the child, but she had already taken a step back. He could see only her outline, a slender figure in the glowing festival lights. Something about her lingered in his mind. He felt a strange connection, though he had never met her. Curiosity and admiration mixed in his thoughts. He wondered who she was, why she had been in the crowd, and why her eyes had seemed so different. Toma returned to the energy orb booth, but now he could not focus fully. His mind kept drifting back to the hooded figure. He realized he wanted to see her again, to speak with her and understand more about who she was. He scanned the crowd carefully but saw no sign of her. The hooded figure moved to a quieter corner of the plaza. She watched him from a distance, curious about his reactions. She had not expected him to notice the small gestures or to be so kind and attentive to others. His patience and intelligence made her smile faintly under her hood. She wanted to meet him properly, but she needed the right moment. Toma wandered through the festival again, looking at glowing displays and unusual plants. He stopped at a stall where floating orbs projected tiny holograms of planets. He reached out, moving one orb slightly to see the stars from a different angle. The hooded figure noticed his attention to detail, the way he explored new ideas with excitement. She stepped a little closer, but the crowd still separated them. A small child ran past Toma again, and this time he reached out instinctively to help her. The hooded figure smiled behind her hood. She appreciated his instincts, the natural way he cared for others. Her curiosity grew stronger, and she began thinking of ways to speak to him without alarming him or the crowd. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the festival. Toma finally paused near a fountain, leaning on its edge and catching his breath. The hooded figure stopped a few meters away, hidden behind a small group of alien visitors. Their eyes met briefly, and for a single instant, he saw her face clearly under the hood. Time seemed to slow. Her eyes glowed faintly in the evening light. Toma froze, unable to look away. He felt an unexplainable connection, as if he had known her for longer than a moment. The hooded figure held his gaze with quiet confidence, a small smile on her lips. Then, just as quickly, she stepped back, blending into the crowd once more. Toma shook his head, a mixture of surprise and curiosity filling him. He had never felt anything like this before. He did not know who she was, but he knew he wanted to meet her again. Somewhere in the festival, the hooded figure watched him carefully, her thoughts mirrored by his own curiosity and wonder. The festival lights sparkled brighter as night fell, but Toma felt a spark that shone even more vividly inside him. The encounter had been brief, but it had left a lasting impression. Both of them, hidden among thousands, felt that something important had begun. The festival lights glowed brightly as night fell over Viralaya. The streets were alive with movement, laughter, and the hum of alien engines. Toma walked slowly, thinking about the hooded figure he had seen. He could not forget her eyes, glowing softly in the evening light, and the calm confidence she had shown. Every time he looked around the crowd, he wondered if she was watching him again. Meanwhile, the hooded figure moved quietly through the plaza. She observed Toma from a distance, her steps silent on the cobblestone streets. She wanted to approach him but needed the right moment. She did not want to startle him or draw attention to herself. In her world, observing humans from a distance was common, but this human was different. He was curious, kind, and clever, and she wanted to know more. Toma stopped near a fountain, watching small holographic fish swim above the water. He reached out to touch one, fascinated by the way it moved like a real creature. He felt a gentle tap on his shoulder. Startled, he turned quickly. The hooded figure stood before him, her hood slipping slightly from her head. For the first time, he saw her face clearly. Her hair shimmered softly, almost metallic in color. Her eyes glowed faintly, intelligent and kind. Toma froze, unsure how to react. He had never seen anyone like her before. I didn't expect to see you here, he said, his voice quiet. She smiled, a calm and gentle expression. I wanted to meet you, she said. Her voice was soft, smooth, and unusual, yet easy to understand. I have been watching you because you are interesting. Toma blinked, trying to understand. Interesting? How? She stepped a little closer, her movements careful but confident. The way you notice details, the way you care for others, and how curious you are. Most humans do not pay attention like that. You are different. Toma felt a warm feeling in his chest. He had never been noticed like this before. Thank you. I like learning and exploring. I want to understand how things work, he said. She nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting the festival lights. I can show you something, she said, glancing toward a quieter alley. But you must trust me. Curiosity overcame his hesitation. All right, he said. Together, they moved toward the alley, slipping past the busy crowds. Toma noticed how calm and graceful she was, moving with ease even in the chaos of the festival. They reached a small, hidden area behind a row of market stalls. In the center floated a device, small but complex, glowing softly with energy. Toma recognized some parts as human-made, but many components were alien in design. The hooded figure stepped closer to it. This is what I wanted to show you, she said. It is an energy stabilizer, but it has a problem. It can become unstable and dangerous if left unchecked. Toma studied the device, amazed. I've never seen anything like this, he said. How do you control it? She smiled faintly. It requires both human ingenuity and alien knowledge. I need your help to stabilize it. If we succeed, it will work perfectly. If not, she paused, letting the seriousness sink in. The energy could affect the nearby crowd. Toma's curiosity and sense of responsibility took over. Then let's fix it, he said. Together, they knelt near the device. Toma touched the human components while she adjusted the alien mechanisms. Sparks of light ran along the device, shifting and flowing like liquid. Toma felt the hum of energy under his fingertips, amazed by the precision required. They worked in silence, only speaking when necessary. Toma admired her knowledge, the way she understood the device instinctively. She, in turn, admired his patience and skill, how carefully he applied his human logic to the unfamiliar technology. After several minutes, the device stabilized. Its glow softened, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Toma stepped back, breathing heavily. We did it, he said, smiling. The hooded figure removed her hood completely now. I am Nira, she said. I study humans and their technology. I have been observing you for some time. You are exceptional. Toma felt a mixture of surprise and pride. I'm Toma. I didn't realize anyone would notice me like that. I'm glad you did. Nira smiled, a warm expression that made him feel both curious and comfortable. There is much more to see and learn, she said. And I think we can learn from each other. For the first time, Toma felt a true connection with someone not entirely like him. He realized that despite their differences, they could understand each other. The device between them was more than a machine, it was a symbol of collaboration, curiosity, and trust. As the festival lights shone brightly around them, Toma and Nira stood side by side. The crowd's noise seemed far away, and for a moment, the world felt smaller and full of possibilities. They had met by chance, but their encounter was only the beginning. Together, they could explore, learn, and maybe change the world around them. Toma looked at Nira's glowing eyes and smiled. He knew that this night, this meeting, would be remembered. A quiet understanding passed between them, unspoken yet strong. They had found each other among the crowd, and nothing would be the same again. The evening air in Viralaya was cool, carrying the scent of glowing fruits and exotic spices from the festival stalls. Toma and Nira stepped away from the crowded plaza, moving toward a quieter part of the city. The streets here were lined with small workshops and labs, each one displaying inventions that seemed almost magical. Toma's eyes widened as he noticed a floating globe of light projecting a miniature storm, complete with tiny rain clouds and soft thunder sounds. Nira walked beside him, her glowing eyes reflecting the colorful lights. "There is something I need to show you," she said softly. "It is important and may require your skills." Toma's curiosity piqued. "What is it?" he asked, leaning slightly closer to hear her better. She pointed to a narrow alley, dimly lit but filled with strange humming devices. "This area is usually restricted during the festival. A device here is malfunctioning, and it could be dangerous if ignored. I cannot handle it alone." Toma felt a thrill of excitement. "Then let's see it," he said. He followed her carefully, aware of the soft glow that marked her presence in the darkened streets. They arrived at a small courtyard where a floating orb hovered above a pedestal. Its light flickered irregularly, casting strange shadows on the walls. Sparks of energy arced in tiny bursts around the device, and a low hum filled the air. Toma could feel the power radiating from it. "This is the orb," Nira explained. "It stores energy from multiple sources, but its circuits are unstable. If it collapses, the surrounding area could be affected." She glanced at Toma. "I need your understanding of human mechanics to stabilize it. Together, we might succeed." Toma knelt beside the pedestal, examining the orb closely. He noted the delicate connections and overlapping circuits. "I see," he said. "It's complex, but I think I can help. Your alien components are unfamiliar, but I think we can work together." Nira nodded, a small smile on her lips. She extended her hands toward the orb, guiding its energy flow carefully. Sparks jumped from one circuit to another, and Toma adjusted the levers and panels, synchronizing his actions with hers. The orb pulsed, sometimes dangerously, but gradually, its light became steady. As they worked, Toma noticed how naturally Nira moved around the device. She understood the energy patterns instinctively, almost like she could feel the currents flowing through the air. Her movements were precise and elegant, and Toma felt inspired by her skill. Minutes passed, and the orb finally stabilized. Its glow softened into a steady, calm light. Toma leaned back, breathing heavily. "We did it," he said, smiling widely. Nira stepped closer, her eyes bright with satisfaction. "You were excellent," she said. "Your patience and skill made this possible. Most humans would have struggled with such a device." Toma felt a warm sense of pride. "I couldn't have done it without you. Your knowledge, it's amazing." For a moment, they stood in silence, watching the orb. The humming had stopped, replaced by a gentle, steady pulse of energy. Around them, the city continued its festival celebrations, unaware of the quiet teamwork that had just saved the area. Nira spoke again, her voice soft. "There is more to explore, Toma. This device is only one of many that need attention. Some are hidden, others are in plain sight. Together, we could learn much and help many." Toma nodded, excitement replacing any fear. I want to. I want to learn and help. And I want to see how far we can go together. They began walking through the city, moving from one workshop to another. Along the way, Nira explained her studies of human technology and how it interacted with alien devices. Thomas shared his thoughts on engineering, space travel, and the ways humans solved problems. Their ideas flowed together naturally, each learning from the other. At one point, they passed a market stall displaying small, floating robots. Thomas stopped, inspecting the designs, while Nira observed quietly. A young alien boy bumped into one of the robots, causing it to wobble. Toma reached out instinctively to steady it. Nira watched, her eyes softening with admiration. "You care for others," she said quietly. Toma smiled, not taking his eyes off the robot. "It's important. Even small things matter." Nira nodded. "I think that is why you are special. Your mind and heart work together. That is rare, even among humans." As the night deepened, they finally paused on a quiet balcony overlooking the city. Lights shimmered below, and distant music reached them in soft waves. Tomo looked at Nira, feeling a connection that went beyond curiosity. He realized that working together was more than solving problems, it was a partnership, a shared journey. Nira looked back at him, her glowing eyes meeting his. "We have much to do, Toma. But I believe we can succeed, if we trust each other." Toma nodded, a determined smile on his face. "Then we will. No matter what comes next, we will face it together." For the first time, both of them felt the true weight of their journey. The festival, the city, and the world around them seemed full of challenges and opportunities. Together, they could explore, learn, and make a difference. And as they prepared to continue their adventure, neither of them knew where it would lead, but both were eager to find out. The night in Viralaya was quiet in the side streets, but the festival still pulsed with life not far away. Toma and Nira walked quickly toward a small plaza where Nira said the next device was located. This one was more complex than the orb they had stabilized before. It floated several feet above the ground, spinning slowly, its glow uneven and flickering. Sparks of energy occasionally jumped outward, lighting the nearby walls in soft blue flashes. "This is the device," Nira said, stepping closer. Her glowing eyes studied it carefully. "It is unstable and dangerous. If it collapses, the effects could reach the main festival plaza. We must act quickly." Toma nodded, taking a deep breath. "Then we cannot waste any time. Tell me what to do." Nira guided him to the base of the device. The mechanisms were unlike anything Toma had worked on before. Alien circuits intertwined with human-like panels, creating a strange and beautiful pattern. Sparks of energy arced from one part to another, and Toma could feel the heat of the device even from a few steps away. "Some parts are sensitive," Nira said. "Touching them incorrectly could trigger the collapse. You need to use caution and logic together." Toma knelt carefully, examining the panels. He adjusted a lever and watched the flickering pattern stabilize slightly. Nira moved her hands in precise motions, guiding the energy flow. Their movements had to be perfectly coordinated. A small mistake could make the device more unstable. Minutes passed as they worked silently, their focus complete. Toma adjusted a human component while Nira manipulated the alien energy circuits. Sparks leapt from one side to another, and the device pulsed like a heartbeat. Toma's hands shook slightly, but Nira's calm presence helped him stay steady. Suddenly, the device surged violently, sending arcs of blue energy into the air. Toma jumped back, holding his hands up to protect himself. Nira's eyes glowed brighter as she extended her hands toward the orb, trying to contain the energy. "Steady, Toma," she called. "Adjust the lower panel now." He acted quickly, turning a dial and pressing a sequence of buttons. The device's pulsing slowed slightly. Sparks continued to fly, but the worst of the instability seemed contained. Nira smiled faintly. Good. Now the energy must flow through the stabilization nodes simultaneously. Follow my lead. They worked together, moving in perfect coordination. The flickering slowed further, and the arcs of energy became controlled streams of light. Toma felt his confidence grow with each successful adjustment. Nira's knowledge guided him, and his precision helped her stabilize the alien circuits. Finally, the device settled into a steady glow. It hovered calmly above the pedestal, humming softly. The air felt warmer, calmer, and safer. Toma stepped back, breathing heavily. "We did it," he said, a mix of relief and pride in his voice. Nira nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting satisfaction. "Yes, we did. Your skill and patience were remarkable. Most humans would have panicked under this pressure." Toma smiled. "I couldn't have done it without you. Your understanding of the device made all the difference." They stood for a moment, watching the device glow steadily. The energy it contained now seemed almost peaceful, like a living thing that had been calmed. Around them, the city continued its festival celebrations, unaware of the danger that had just passed. Nira glanced at Toma, her expression serious but warm. "This challenge shows that working together is more than combining skills. It is about trust and timing. You have proven yourself capable and reliable. I am glad to have you by my side." Toma felt a warmth in his chest. "I trust you too, Nira. I've never worked with anyone like this before. Together, we can handle anything." As they began to leave the plaza, a small group of festival security drones hovered nearby, scanning for irregular activity. Toma realized that their work, though quiet, could have attracted attention if it had gone wrong. Nira moved smoothly, her knowledge of human and alien systems helping them avoid the drones. They slipped through side streets, their movements careful but confident. Finally, they paused on a balcony overlooking the city. Below, the festival lights sparkled like stars, and music floated up in soft waves. Toma looked at Nira, feeling the bond between them stronger than ever. "We make a good team," he said quietly. Nira smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting the lights. "Yes, we do. But there are more challenges ahead. Some may be harder than this one. We must stay alert and trust each other completely." Toma nodded, his determination growing. "I am ready. Whatever comes next, we will face it together." The night air felt full of possibility. The devices they had stabilized were only the beginning. Together, Toma and Nira had discovered a strength neither had expected. Their teamwork, intelligence, and courage had overcome a dangerous challenge. Now, they were ready to explore even further, knowing that the bond they had formed would guide them through whatever lay ahead. For a moment, they stood in silence, watching the city below. The festival continued, full of light, sound, and life. Yet, in the quiet space above the streets, Toma and Nira shared a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. They had faced the challenge and won, and the world around them seemed larger, brighter, and full of opportunity. The festival lights of Viralia glimmered softly in the early hours of the night. Music from the floating stages blended with laughter and chatter from humans and aliens alike. Toma and Nira walked through the streets side by side, their minds still buzzing from the recent challenges. Each step felt lighter now, as if the energy of their teamwork had carried them farther than the streets themselves. Toma glanced at Nira, noticing the glow in her eyes reflecting the festival lights. "I still can't believe we managed to stabilize all those devices," he said. "It felt impossible at first." Nira smiled, a calm and knowing expression. "It was difficult," she said. "But we worked together. We understood each other and trusted each other. That made all the difference." They moved toward a small plaza that overlooked the city. From there, the view stretched for miles, with towers and streets aglow in soft neon colors. Toma breathed in the air, feeling both excitement and relief. He had faced his first real challenge in the city and had not been alone. Nira stepped closer, her eyes reflecting the floating lights below. "There is something I want you to understand," she said. "Humans and aliens often see each other as very different. They do not always recognize the strength that comes from working together." Tomo listened carefully, realizing she was right. He thought of the orb and the floating device they had stabilized, and how their combined skills had made the difference. "I see what you mean," he said. "When we trust each other, our differences become strengths instead of obstacles." Nira nodded. "Exactly. And now, we have a choice. We can return to the festival as spectators, or we can continue exploring and helping others with what we have learned." Toma smiled, feeling a sense of purpose he had never felt before. "I want to keep exploring," he said. "There are so many things to learn, and I want to do it with you." For the first time, Nira's expression softened completely. She had been careful, quiet, and observant, but now she felt a connection that could not be ignored. "Then we will," she said. "Together, we can face anything." They walked down from the balcony, moving closer to the heart of the festival. Around them, people danced, ate glowing treats, and marveled at inventions from countless worlds. Yet, Toma and Nira felt a quiet space around them, a sense of being in their own world even in the middle of the crowd. Toma noticed a small child struggling with a floating toy that kept spinning out of control. Without hesitation, he reached out and steadied it. Nira watched, smiling softly. She noticed the same instinct that had drawn her attention to him in the first place. Kindness, curiosity, and courage were part of him, and they were just as strong now as they had been during their work with the devices. The child's parents thanked him, and Toma waved, feeling the joy of helping. Nira stepped closer, extending a hand to adjust a small panel on a nearby hovering display. Together, they worked seamlessly, helping the festival's devices run more smoothly without drawing attention. As they finished, Tomo looked at Nira. "We make a good team," he said quietly. Nira nodded, her eyes glowing faintly in the night light. "Yes, and there is much more to see. Many challenges and discoveries await. But now, we understand each other better. That is more important than any device or invention." Toma smiled, feeling a warmth inside. "I understand. And I am glad we met. I feel like this is only the beginning." Nira's smile widened slightly. "It is the beginning. Trust, curiosity, and courage will guide us. Together, we can explore not only the city but much more. We will learn, help, and discover new possibilities." The festival continued around them, full of color, light, and sound. Yet for Toma and Nira, the world felt quieter, brighter, and full of purpose. They had faced challenges, learned from each other, and formed a bond that transcended differences. Tomo looked at Nira's glowing eyes one last time as they stood in the plaza. "Whatever comes next, we will face it together," he said with determination. Nira nodded. "Yes, together. And that makes us stronger than anything else we will encounter." The night sky above Viralaya sparkled with stars, and floating lights from the festival mirrored the heavens. Toma and Nira stood side by side, feeling that they had discovered something far greater than devices or inventions. They had discovered trust, understanding, and the power of collaboration. And as the city continued its celebration, the two of them knew that their journey had only just begun. Together, they were ready for whatever the future held. They had faced challenges, learned, and grown. And now, nothing could stop them from exploring, helping, and discovering new possibilities, side by side.